A wall of glass and silicon stretches across the Tengger Desert, 1,200 square kilometers, visible from low Earth orbit. On September 15, 2012, a modest 30-megawatt pilot quietly connects to the grid. Nobody outside China notices. What looks like a pilot is actually a template. And the template is about to be scaled into something the energy industry has never seen. The Tengger Desert spans 36,700 square kilometers of shifting sand across Inner Mongolia and Ningxia. 3,000 hours of sunlight per year. Near zero population density. Land cost effectively at floor. State Power Investment Corporation China, Three Gorges, and the Ningxia provincial government quietly form the consortium that turns the sand into infrastructure. By March 2026, the operational footprint sits at 10.5 gigawatts, larger than the entire installed solar grid of most European nations. It powers the residential load equivalent of Singapore or New Zealand. This is not the future. It is already happening. And it has a name, the Great Wall of Solar. The number that breaks the global solar industry is not a megawatt figure, it is a dollar figure. By 2025, China is building utility-scale desert solar at 32 cents per watt installed. The equivalent US project clocks in around 60% higher. That single cost differential rewrites the economics of energy on Earth. And it is not an accident. It is the result of a vertically integrated supply chain that took 15 years to construct. Start at the raw material. Every solar panel begins as polysilicon, cooked at extreme temperatures in massive furnaces. China today produces roughly 95% of the world's polysilicon. Read that number again, 95%. There is no parallel supply chain at meaningful scale anywhere else on the planet. The largest non-Chinese producers, Wacker in Germany and Hemlock in the United States, combined supply less than 5% of global demand. If China stopped exporting polysilicon tomorrow, the entire Western solar industry would halt within 90 days. Move one step up the chain. China manufactures 85% of the world's solar panels by volume. Inside that 85%, 4 firms do most of the work. LONGi Green Energy, Jinko Solar, Trina Solar, and JA Solar together hold a combined global module share north of 70%. The dominant player is LONGi, founded by Li Zhengguo in 2000, headquartered in Xi'an. Most Western viewers have never heard the name. They should. LONGi alone supplied over 60% of the panels installed across Tengger's 2023 to 2026 expansion phases. The cost advantage compounds at every stage. Chinese polysilicon producers operate plants in Xinjiang, where industrial electricity runs 3 to 4 cents per kilowatt hour, less than half what a German competitor pays. Chinese wafer manufacturers benefit from a domestic steel and glass supply chain that prices inputs at a fraction of European rates. Chinese module assemblers run automated lines financed by state-backed lenders at interest rates Western firms cannot match. Stack those advantages, and the final module rolls off the line at a price no foreign competitor can rationally meet. The industry tried to compete. Germany's solar manufacturing sector, once the largest in the world, collapsed between 2012 and 2017. SolarWorld, Qcells, Conergy, all bankrupt or sold to Chinese buyers. The United States imposed tariffs starting in 2018, extended under Biden, reinforced again in 2025. The tariffs slow the bleeding. They do not reverse it. American module assembly exists, but the cells inside almost every American assembled panel still come from Southeast Asian factories owned by Chinese parents. The total installed cost of Tengger's operational 10.5 gigawatts comes in around $3.4 billion. For context, the United States spent roughly $1.1 billion building SolarStar in California, a 579 megawatt facility. China built more than 18 times the capacity for roughly 3 times the cost. Per watt, China is delivering electricity infrastructure at 1/6 the American rate. 1/6. That is the number that broke the industry. And the industry has not yet figured out how to respond. 43 million panels, and the brain that runs them, 43 million solar panels, lie across the Tanger Sand. Laid edge to edge, they would stretch from Beijing to Lisbon and back, with kilometers to spare. Standing inside the facility, the human eye cannot find an edge in any direction. Each panel is not a passive surface. Each sits on a single-axis tracking mount that pivots throughout the day, following the sun from sunrise angle to sunset angle. The trackers are networked nodes in what is effectively the largest distributed control system ever deployed in the energy sector. And the brain running that system was built by Huawei. Huawei's smart string inverter platform, paired with Fusion solar management software, controls panel orientation, monitors output at the string level, and adjusts in real time for variables most fixed installations ignore. Cloud cover crossing one corner, dust accumulation on a subarray after a sandstorm, temperature variation between panels in sun and shadow. The system reads thousands of telemetry points per second and pushes optimization commands back down to the trackers and inverters within milliseconds. The measured result is an 18% efficiency gain over a traditional fixed tilt installation of equivalent nameplate capacity. 18%. On a 10.5 gigawatt facility, that is the equivalent of adding nearly 2 additional gigawatts of free output without installing a single additional panel. At Chinese build costs, replicating that gain through new construction would cost roughly $640 million. The software does it for the price of a license and a server rack. The Huawei detail is where the geopolitics gets sharp. This is the same company the United States sanctioned out of the global smartphone market starting in 2019, the same company barred from American 5G networks, the same company whose chairman, Ren Zhengfei, was treated as a national security threat by 2 consecutive U.S. administrations. That company is now the operating brain of the largest single power generation facility on the planet. The sanctions did not slow Huawei's energy business, they redirected it. Huawei's digital power division reported revenue above $11 billion in 2024, growing at over 40% year on year. China now manufactures roughly 80% of the world's utility-scale solar inverters. The digital control layer of global solar infrastructure is, increasingly, Chinese code running on Chinese silicon. The control room at Tanger is smaller than visitors expect. A wall of screens, maybe 40 operators per shift. A dust storm warning triggers an automated sequence that tilts every panel in the projected path to near vertical, minimizing dust accumulation. When the storm passes, robotic cleaning units sweep affected subarrays before efficiency drops measurably. The Americans built Solar Star. The Chinese built something closer to an organism. In 2021, Zhang Jianhua, head of China's National Energy Administration, stands at a Beijing press conference and announces what state media calls the Desert Solar Initiative. The headline target sounds cartoonish: 450 gigawatts of desert and Gobi region solar capacity operational by 2030. For comparison, the entire installed solar capacity of the United States at that moment is roughly 95 gigawatts. China is announcing a single regional program nearly 5 times the size of America's national fleet. The announcement is not aspirational. It is a procurement schedule. Within 18 months, parallel mega projects break ground across the Chinese West. The Kubuki Desert Complex in Inner Mongolia, the Tarim Basin installation in Xinjiang, the Qaidam Basin facility in Qinghai, sited at over 3,000 meters elevation, where thinner atmosphere increases incident solar radiation. Each project is sized at multiple gigawatts. Each is built using the same template proven at Tanger. By the end of 2023, China China's total installed solar capacity reaches 609 gigawatts. By the end of 2025, the figure crosses 850 gigawatts. The 2026 trajectory puts China past 1,000 gigawatts before year-end. 1 terawatt of solar capacity, the majority of it built in the previous 4 years. The combined annual output of China's desert solar fleet now exceeds the total electricity consumption of Pakistan, a nation of 240 million people. It exceeds Vietnam's national consumption. It is on track to exceed the total electricity consumption of the United Kingdom before 2028. State Power Investment Corporation, China Energy Investment Corporation, and China 3 Gorges operate as the 3 primary developers. The China Development Bank and the Export-Import Bank of China provide concessional financing at rates between 2 and 3%. State Grid Corporation of China builds the transmission infrastructure in parallel with the generation facilities, not after them. The Qinghai to Henan line, completed in 2020, moves power 1,587 kilometers at 800 kilovolts direct current with line losses below 6%. The 450 gigawatt target will be hit ahead of schedule. Internal Chinese projections, leaked through trade publications in late 2025, suggest the figure will be reached by 2028, 2 years early, 15 billion kilowatt hours per year. That is the annual generation output of the operational Tanger complex as of March 2026. 15 billion kilowatt hours is enough electricity to supply every residential customer in Singapore, or every household in New Zealand, or every home in Ireland with capacity left over for industrial users. The carbon math is equally hard to absorb. Tanger's annual generation displaces approximately 14 million tons of carbon dioxide emissions that would otherwise come from coal-fired plants in northern China. 14 million tons is the equivalent of removing 3 million passenger vehicles from the road permanently, every year. From one facility, electricity in Western China is now among the cheapest on Earth. Industrial users in Ningxia and Inner Mongolia pay between 2 and 3 cents per kilowatt hour under long-term offtake agreements. Aluminum smelting, where power costs are the single largest input, is migrating to provinces served by the desert solar fleet. Green hydrogen has been economically marginal everywhere it has been attempted. The break-even point sits at electricity prices around 2 cents per kilowatt hour. Tanger is now operating below that threshold during peak generation hours. State Power Investment Corporation has commissioned a 150,000-ton per year green hydrogen facility adjacent to the complex. Battery storage installations, mostly using lithium iron phosphate chemistry from CATL and BYD, are being co-located at gigawatt scale. Curtailment rates that hit 20% in 2018 are now below 4%, even at terawatt scale deployment. The cheap power is not staying in Ningxia. Through the ultra-high voltage transmission network, it is being delivered to the manufacturing belts of Zhejiang and Guangdong, where it powers the factories that build the panels, inverters, batteries, and electric vehicles that China is exporting to the rest of the world. The Desert Solar is subsidizing the manufacturing base. The manufacturing base is subsidizing the next round of Desert Solar. The loop is closed. The flywheel is spinning. Solar Star, Rosamond, California, 579 megawatts across roughly 13 square kilometers, completed in 2015. At commissioning, it was the largest solar facility on Earth. More than a decade later, it is still the largest in the United States. The benchmark has not moved. In April 2026, U.S. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm testifies before the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee. The line that gets clipped that evening is delivered without notes. The United States, she tells the committee, is 10 to 15 years behind China on utility-scale solar deployment. The Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 provided roughly $370 billion in clean energy incentives over a decade. On paper, the math worked. In practice, the deployment numbers have disappointed almost every analyst who modeled them. The reasons are structural. Interconnection queues in MISO have grown to over 1,300 gigawatts of pending projects, more than the entire installed generation capacity of the United States. NEPA reviews for federal land projects routinely consume 2 to 4 years. Almost every large solar project announced in the American Southwest in the past 5 years has faced at least one lawsuit. And even if a project is permitted, financed, and built, the transmission lines needed to move the power to load centers often do not exist. The SunZia line connecting New Mexico wind to Arizona load took 17 years from initial proposal to construction start in 2023. America has a proposal. China has 43 million panels in the sand. Teng'er Phase 6 broke ground in October 2024. It connected to the grid in under 14 months. The equivalent American utility-scale solar project, from permit application to commercial operation, averages 5 to 8 years. The reason is vertical integration end-to-end. State-owned developers, state-owned grid, state-allocated land, state banks. No interconnection queue because the grid operator is sitting in the same planning meeting as the developer. No permitting standoff because the land is allocated by the same provincial government that signs the offtake agreement. The supply chain is vertical too. Every panel, inverter, transformer, steel mounting frame, and transmission cable used at Teng'er is manufactured within 1,500 kilometers of the site. Nothing crosses an ocean. Nothing waits at a port. Components ship from factories in Xi'an, Hefei, and Tianjin directly to staging yards in Ningxia by rail in under 72 hours. Phase 7 is already under construction. 15 gigawatts more by December 2028. The Great Wall of Solar is not finished. It is barely beginning. The model is now exporting. Chinese-built desert solar mega projects are under construction in 15 countries. Saudi Arabia's Al Shuaibah complex, contracted to a consortium led by SPIC, will reach 2.6 gigawatts by 2027. The UAE's Al Dhafra expansion runs on Jinko solar modules and Huawei inverters. Pakistan's Cholistan Desert Project, financed under the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, is being built by Chinese EPC contractors using the Teng'er playbook. Egypt's Benban expansion follows the same template. The financing is bundled. Belt and road concessional loans from China Development Bank arrive packaged with LONGi panels, Huawei inverters, and SPIC engineering services. Recipient nations get electricity at prices their domestic industries cannot otherwise access. China gets infrastructure footprint, long-term currency settlement flows, and operational control of foreign grid assets. Western competitors are not locked out by policy. They are locked out by cost and lead time. A European or American EPC firm bidding against a Chinese consortium on a Saudi gigawatt-scale tender is competing against panels priced 40% lower, financing priced 4 points cheaper, and a delivery timeline half as long. The Great Wall of Solar is not a wall, it is a prototype, and the prototype is now shipping. One country built the template. The rest of the world is about to live inside it.